Ahoy! Today's video is about Heil's research, one of the main features of the Terminus Machina update that arrived to Europe last year. The main idea is there's a researcher called Heil, is this guy with the amazing dental hygiene. He might be more familiar if you recall those scenario quests where you had to ask him to analyze samples and whatnot, and every time you visited him you had to fight through a maze of monsters who made absolutely no sense being there whatsoever. So, unlike the scenario quests, this time he is the one who needs your help. To be more precise, it's materials he needs. But he's quite picky because he only accepts certain items, different ones each day, and only from level 180 or higher characters who are selected as the main character of the account inside the guild. After that though, all your other characters on the account above level 180 can use the system and share progress. There's a pretty fancy new UI which you can access from the Cabal menu or with a shortcut whose default is Shift+I. Now normally this feature has two stages, so you might be seeing a different window if you open this one, but we'll get to that later. This one lasts for a week. Currently in Europe it starts every Wednesday morning. The items you see down here are the ones he needs for today's research, where it also indicates how many you have in your inventory and how many is needed for a try. Think of each of the tiles you see as a category. For example, there are astral cores, upgrade cores, scrolls, and so on. The category remains the same, but the grade of the item required in each is randomly selected every day. So for example, today you might have soul cores for Portlux, but tomorrow it could be arcane trays. Or it can be Portlux again, because the system allows the same to reappear on multiple consecutive days. So if you're not satisfied with what he needs today, you can come back tomorrow, or you can use, yep, you guessed it, force change, to forcibly change the required material in the same category. So if you decide to sacrifice your precious materials on his research, you will see the yellow bar at the top progressing. Once that is filled, one slot is unlocked on the board. If all of the slots are done, you automatically advance to the next page. It's also worth noting that dumping the same item into research eventually increases the amount required. You can't progress science just by doing the same thing indefinitely after all. This count is also reset with the next day though. But why on earth would you literally burn away all those precious materials, especially for such a grumpy old man? Well, the answer is you get tons of buff potions and some unique materials which are very useful. The blue slots are considered normal, and every board ends with a green one, which has increased chance for the good stuff. There's also a small chance that your next board might turn into a rare one, which has a green slot at the start and a red one at the end. Red is the most awesomest of them all, which has much higher chance for rare materials. The moment you complete a slot, the reward it contained is sent to your event inventory, from where you can receive it within the next 7 days. So the materials look cool and all, but what's the use of them? The answer is collection. The update also came with several new collection pages that require the materials that can only be obtained from this research system. As you can see, they need tons of them, but fortunately you can reach partial completion stats with other items as well, such as upgrade and force cores. And most of those pages have very significant bonuses, so it's definitely worth investing into it. Let me give you a few tips for this whole research system. Join a guild, a very active one, where people regularly contribute to guild treasure. You see, guild treasure gives you tons of medium to highest grade scrolls for weapons and armor, which don't really have any other purpose than being used for collection and dumped into research. The same goes for soul cores of all grades. But of course, even with the most active guild in existence, it would take a decade to finish all those collection pages, so a couple more things to keep in mind. You can extract items you gain from dungeons, preferably the ones with slots, and keep the upgrade and force core pieces, the material, astral and quartz cores, and the scrolls for this. Although personally I only use the scrolls, as the rest of the materials have better uses, like selling them to crafters. But the point is, don't throw away scrolls because you can use them for this system. By the way, you don't have to worry about accidentally dumping your rare scrolls when spamming the button, because it does not detect amp critical rate and maximum critical rate scrolls. Occasionally we also get events with monster invasions, where those guys often drop soul cores in huge stacks, which are ideal for this purpose too. One last thing, earlier I mentioned the second stage of the research. If you click the Find Clues button, you will be greeted with something like a leaderboard. Think of it like a sweepstakes. If you complete at least 7 boards, you qualify for the draw. So when the research period ends, 100 random qualifying players are selected to win a larger amount of rare collection materials. The winners are also displayed in a list if you click the Clue Providers button. So I believe that's about it. I wanted this video to be shorter, but kept on realizing it needs more and more said, so I hope by the end I didn't miss anything, but feel free to ask your relevant questions in the comments. Ahoy!